This episode is sponsored by Audible. Mesquite. Barbecue. No, not barbecue. Yes, if you take the wood from a mesquite tree, you can make chips out of it and you can smoke meat with it. I'm not talking about that today. I'm talking about mesquite pods. Mesquite trees have a fruit to them, and that fruit is supposed to be delicious. This is something that historically has been consumed by Native Americans and was a very important food source by certain tribes. I believe one's in the southwestern part of the US. And I don't just have one mesquite species, I have 4 mesquite species here today. And these were very kindly sent to me by Trevor. Trevor, thank you so much. Trevor is in Arizona, where he picked these and sent them all the way to me here in New York City. So this is a chance for me to try something that you usually need to forage, but you can't forage it around here. Mesquite flour and mesquite meal can be purchased online, but it's gonna be expensive. It's a specialty product, but it is also something that you can forage and it's completely free. There are several different species of mesquite. Like I said, I've got 4 of them here, but there are other ones, and some of them taste good, some of them taste bad. The one that I've been seeing online the most as something to use for cooking is this one here, the honey mesquite. So I'm gonna try this one first. Now these are dried out, but these actually dry out naturally on the tree. So it's dry, but that's how you get it. And Trevor told me that in order to make it a little safer to ship, he put it in the oven for a short period of time to kill like any potential bugs that might be in here. That is another thing with mesquite, is that a lot of times you'll see holes in the pod, and that is from a beetle that crawls inside the pod, lays eggs, and then gets out of there. And I believe when they exit the pod, it makes a little hole. So when you eat these things, there is usually a little bit of bug part in there, which I'm not super excited about, but you know, it's bug parts are in like all your food, so what can you do? All right, so let's crack that pod. The seeds are very hard. So there's a seed. It's about the size of an apple seed, but as you can see, it is tan color, not black. Very fibrous. I'm not going to show this to you up close, but I'm picking out fibers. So yeah, that flavor is a bit like corn and a bit like peas. And peas, that actually makes a lot of sense because this is in the pea family. It's related to peas. And because of that combination of like corn and peas, it reminds me a little bit of those little fried pea snacks that you can get at like Whole Foods for like $20 a bag. It's like cornmeal and pea flour or something, and it's deep fried. Tastes like that. There's a little bit of sweetness to it, not a whole lot, but a little bit there, maybe like a 3 out of 10. It's not as much as an apple, but there's a bit there. It is sweet, but it's also vegetal. So it's the sort of thing like, I guess like if I'm in the forest and I see it growing, I might gnaw on it, but it's not the greatest flavor just out of hand. This is definitely something that I can see some potential for, like you can make something out of it, fresh out of hand, it's okay. Next, we're gonna try the velvet mesquite pod. The seeds on this one are still pretty hard, but I'm able to break through them by chewing very slowly. I'm not getting as much of like the corn sort of flavor that I was getting before, but the pea taste is still there. It's still vegetal. I'm also getting a little bit of like a dry fruit taste with this one, like a little bit of like a raisin sort of flavor. Next, the screwbean mesquite, which is really, really cool looking. You know, when I was younger, I had this toy that was like a ball of fingers. I love that toy. This reminds me of that. There's a comparison you're not going to see in another video. And the little fruits themselves are like actually a spiral. And this is another one that I see recommended as one to eat. So let's give this a try. Yeah, these screwbean ones are the best ones. They look the coolest. The seeds are smallest, so you can chew the whole thing, and it's not going to break your teeth, at least not the one I have. And the flavor is really good. It kind of reminds me of the other two. It has a little bit of the corn taste. It has a little bit of the pea taste. But it also has a lot of fruit flavor, like dry fruit flavor. Maybe a touch of like a dried berry taste, dried apple taste, like some date flavor in there. The sweetness is maybe a little bit more. This one is the Chilean mesquite pod, and I saved this for the end because this is not one that I've been seeing online as one that is good to eat. The other three, yes. This one, no. And there are some varieties out there that are used ornamentally, or they're just invasive and they take over. This might be one of those. All right. Yeah, this one's not good. Astringent. It's like giving me terrible dry mouth. The main flavor that I'm getting is cotton. It's like taking a big hunk of cotton and putting it in your mouth. However, it does illustrate a very important point, which is if you are going to go out into the world and collect a bunch of mesquite pods, you do want to exercise some caution. Because if you were to just like pick them like willy-nilly and get like good ones and bad ones from different species of different trees, and decide to make the flour and grind them up and make something with it, it's all going to taste bad because these ones are going to ruin it. You want to make sure that you're dealing with species of trees that taste good, not ones that taste like cotton. So trying these on their own is all fine and good, but I think that's probably not the ideal way of eating these. So let's make something.
Fruit hunting is fun and all, but that is not my job. I'm a contortionist. I need to stretch for hours every day in order to maintain my flexibility, and that's why I love Audible. Their selection of thousands of titles, including podcasts, comedy, and audiobooks, makes time fly by while you're doing boring things like exercising and cooking. Right now, I'm listening to The Food Explorer by Daniel Stone. It's a biography on David Fairchild, the OG fruit hunter, who is responsible for popularizing a lot of the fruit that we eat today. Now is a great time to sign up because Audible just released a new plan, Audible Plus. It's only $4.95 a month for the first 6 months. To find out more, go to audible.com/weirdexplorer or text Weird Explorer to 500 500. There are a ton of different recipes online that use mesquite pods, a lot of them using just mesquite flour. A lot of these recipes, though, they're very modern, so it'd be like mesquite flour muffins and stuff like that. I want to make something that's a little bit more traditional, something that would have been like what Native Americans would have made. The first thing I'm going to make is something called Atole. Now, Atole, you may recognize that. That is a beverage that is found in Mexico and Central America. Usually uses corn, sometimes chocolate. It's kind of like a hot chocolate sort of drink. But there are also recipes using mesquite pods. So I'm not sure how authentic this is to what Native Americans in what is now the US would have done, but because it's like southwestern United States and Atole is from Mexico, they're not too far from each other. I'm guessing there's probably like some similarity at least to what Native Americans would have done. This drink can be made using mesquite flour, mesquite meal. I attempted to make my own mesquite meal, but did not work so great in my food processor. So I'm going to do a different method.
My cat is judging me. She's like, "What are you doing? What kind of fruit are you cooking up this time?" Well, Vostok, it's mesquite pods. Mesquite pods this time. Okay, so I've got an alarm going off. So I've got a pot of boiling water here, and I've got about a cup of my mesquite pods. I don't know how much water that is, but most of the recipes I'm looking at do not give actual amounts. I guess it just depends on how strong you want it. Well, this has been going on for about 30 minutes now, and already you can see that the liquid is getting some color to it. So I turned off the heat. I'm going to put a lid on this, and I'm going to let it sit for a few hours.
Another thing that I found were recipes for mesquite coffee, and that is where you take the mesquite pods, you roast them like you would roast a coffee bean, and then you grind them and brew them like coffee. This is something that you could do with a lot of things. In fact, I have an entire series dedicated to things that are not coffee being made into coffee. So I'm going to try to do this as well. One of the recipes I saw said to put these in an oven for 30 minutes on 350 degrees. I found that this is a little too high, so I actually put it in initially at 350. They got dark very quickly, so I lowered the temperature down to 300. So I think probably better to do 30 minutes at 300 degrees, but, you know, watch it.
Okay, they're nice and cool, and that crisped them up quite a bit too.
Tastes like a burnt bean. Oh man, it is like ink.
It is so dark.
Strong. It's bitter. It is like coffee. It is similar-ish to coffee, but it reminds me of a lot of the coffee alternatives that I've had in the past. And it has what I describe as like a planty flavor. It's like coffee and also like, I don't know, like earth and woods and leaves and stuff like that. It's got plants in there. It's not just a bean taste, but it also does have a little bit of a coffee flavor. So let me add some milk and sugar to this to see if that would help. It does look like coffee when you add milk and sugar to it. I had to add a lot more milk than I normally would to get this kind of color though. That's actually really good. It's not coffee. I mean, it's like coffee, like it's similar to coffee in certain ways, but there's no way you would think this was a coffee. Maybe a flavored coffee or something. It has a distinct flavor that you get from those mesquite beans, a little bit like how they were before I roasted them. And then it's like a little bit of like a raisiny flavor, maybe a touch of like a grainy flavor, like corn, maybe a touch. But beyond that, I'm getting a nuttiness, like almost like a sweet peanut butter sort of flavor, like a peanut butter candy sort of taste. It's maybe not the best thing if you want a substitute for coffee to taste exactly like coffee, but it has enough similarities to it that it would maybe scratch that itch. But honestly, I would drink this in addition to coffee.
Okay, so I let it sit for about 5 hours, and it looks pretty murky in there, but we are not done. We want it to get murkier, so I'm going to turn the heat on and bring it back to a boil. And also I'm going to kind of like mush it up a little bit with this potato masher. And through a mesh strainer, I'm going to pour some of this in there.
Huh. Not bad. Now, usually when this is done, people put brown sugar in it and cinnamon. Sometimes some other spices. I just wanted to have it plain so you can get an idea what the mesquite pods taste like. To take two things that are kind of odd, it tastes a little bit like if you were to take coconut water and jujube tea and mix those together. And jujube tea is It's kind of like apple-y, but not as complex as apples. Like a very mild, sweet flavor that is kind of like in the direction of apples. This tastes a little bit like that, but also with coconut water. It doesn't taste like coconut, but it kind of has like the nuttiness that coconut water would have. This actually feels like something that would be very like hydrating in the same sort of way that coconut water is hydrating. According to a blog that I was reading, people would drink this hot during the winter time, and then during summer months they would just have it warm. They'd like have it overnight and just not go through the process of boiling it. I think it would be okay, cool, but drinking it hot feels like a little, I don't know, there's something pleasant about it. It's like a very comforting drink. I'm just gonna put a little pinch of cinnamon in. Also, I'm gonna put just a pinch of brown sugar in there. Yeah, that's good. The cinnamon and sugar is a nice touch. It goes really well with this flavor. It reminds me a little bit of drinking like an oatmeal cookie because it has like a little bit of a grainy and raisiny flavor in the fruit. So it does complement those. It does complement the cinnamon very well. This is really interesting to try. On its own, I wouldn't go out of my way. It's not really very easy to eat just straight off the tree, but using it to make a flour to make stuff out of makes a lot of sense. Or gathering those pods and making this drink or making the coffee out of it, also really, really good. And it's surprising that this is not more popular. I knew about mesquite wood, but I didn't realize there was an edible fruit. I'll put a link below to where you can get the flour, but otherwise you can go try foraging it. Maybe do like a little bit of research to make sure you're not getting something that is gonna taste bad or poison you. Gotta be careful there, but if you ID it correctly and you get what I got, it's a good one. I would like to give a big shout out to Smarter Every Day, AltPod, and the Harbor Leaf Tea Company. They are mega patrons over on patreon.com. I'm sure you've heard about patreon.com, but basically it is how I can afford to go on all the trips that I go on and how I get all the fruit that I review. That is all from funding from viewers like you. So if you enjoy what you're seeing here and you want to help me out, please check out the link in the description below, and there you can find out more. Thanks so much, guys. Bye-bye.